morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Profit Lab podcast. Hope you enjoy the awesome music that I play every time. And I always like to have some rock music when I start my day. It gives me lots of energy, and energy is what we need to keep going through every single day. I am your host, Marie Torossian. I am a CFO and auditor, a certified public accountant, and a chartered global management accountant. I serve entrepreneurs and business owners through my CPA firm, Marie Torossian CPA, and my management consulting company, The Profit Lab. The Profit Lab podcast serves to expand our mission to empower entrepreneurs by bringing their stories to the masses. We are thrilled to tell your story to inspire, empower, and uplift other entrepreneurs. Check out our website and listen to the podcast at theprofitlab.biz/podcast. Just a quick brief. We launched the podcast on August 2nd, where I spoke about my entrepreneurial journey, and I shared some valuable insights as to what I learned so far and my takeaways and how you can learn from those. So we plan to feature entrepreneurs from all walks of life every week. So if you want to be on the show, please feel free to send me an email at support@theprofitlab.biz, and we'll get you set up on a date. Today is September 13th. It is our 7th episode, and we are live on Facebook at the Profit Lab Biz, on LinkedIn, Marie Torossian CPA, CGMA, and on my YouTube channel, Marie Torossian CPA. Make sure to subscribe, follow, like, and share on any of the platforms that you are listening on us. And we want to make sure that this information gets to every entrepreneur possible. My guest today, I'm so excited about it. My guest today is Pat DePirro. He's a C-level executive with over 25 years of experience in sales, marketing, and product development, working with companies such as Major League Baseball, Nickelodeon, and Bloomberg Business Week. Currently, he's the CEO of Birdie Box, a one-stop luxury gifting service experience. Pat, welcome to the Profit Lab podcast.
Thank you, Marie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. So Pat, we always start the show with, we want to get to know the person. You're the CEO. You've been an executive for a very long time, but before you were all that, like, you're just a person, and I know you personally, and I think everybody should know you personally. So tell us about you, Pat DePirro, you, the person, the values, and all that makes you who you are.
Sure. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks again for having me. And I guess I'll just kind of give you a quick sort of background on how I started. So
yes,
I grew up in New York, not New York City or a nice suburb. I grew up in a borough called Staten Island, which, for those of you who may know Staten Island, it's sort of like a lower middle class working sort of, mindset. So my dad, a 7-day-a-week laborer, worked with his hands. My mom was stay at home. I had an older sister who is like a Mother Teresa type, and I was kind of the oddball of the family, try to make people laugh, always was very curious, good and bad. I always asked a lot of questions to teachers, adults, parents, and I think that curiosity probably led me to my entrepreneurial path. Coming from a family where they were not college graduates, it was very important that my sister and I went to college, and that was a big focal point of my dad and my mom. So I really had no choice, Marie. I went to school. I tried to do as best I could. I don't think I was ever the best student, but I would typically surround myself with people smarter than me, people who could help me, that wanted to be generous with their time. And to this day, a lot of those friendships I cultivated as a youth, they're either investors in Birdie Box, friends of mine, clients of mine. So that became the journey. So New Yorker, and then I moved to Chicago from my job at Nickelodeon for 6 years. Chicago, for those of you out there, is my favorite city, even though I'm a New Yorker. Spent a lot of time there. It was great to see a different part of the country outside of New York. I traveled a lot throughout the Midwest for work, came back home to New York for Bloomberg. And at that point, Marie, I said, this isn't for me. I am no longer the right personality, right mindset, growth mindset that's going to respectfully challenge conventional wisdom.
Right.
And that I had a very supportive, now ex-wife, but wife at the time, that said, go pursue your dream. Luckily, she had a good position and she had health insurance, and she was able to allow me to pursue that. So, and that's how you and I met. And now Birdie Box, which started in Arizona, actually, in Scottsdale. We went to North Carolina to do our fulfillment, and we've been in Florida, in South Florida, for over 5+ years. And that's currently where we reside. And we have offices in Frisco, Texas, and Chicago. So
that was
amazing. 5 minutes too long, but that's a little bit about me.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. And yes, and you know, one of the things that you said, like, and I'm catching from what you talked about, is the mindset, right? Like where we grew up, and that's something I'm noticing as well with other entrepreneurs, is that so many of us have come from a very, you know, different mindset where we've been the oddballs. We're the ones that are trying to push out of that what we grew up out of. So that's very amazing, you know, that you've come so far along. So so when we met, I know you had kind of taken over the reins of Birdie Box, and you've really turned things around. And you guys were like in Florida, now you're in 3 different places. So tell us about that journey of like maneuvering a business to that point. I mean, that's difficult. Some entrepreneurs don't even get to the 5-year plan. So it's like, you know, how do you push through after the 5 years, and then now you're at the growth phase?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're still going through it too, Marie. So I don't want to give everybody out there listening visions of grandeur that you kind of put in a couple of years, and it's a constant evolution, and it's a process, and you have to enjoy the process. You can't be so focused on the destination, and that's what I'm learning as I get older, to enjoy the process. All these moments. Podcast at the Profit Lab with you. Sometimes it seems like it's a pain point, operations, logistics, marketing, but I learn a lot, and I hope that I grow from that. So, you know, it was really one of the pieces of advice that I give entrepreneurs is like, always listen, but be an active listener. Really understand why people are coming, why they have a point of view, why things are done a certain way. Don't project your own opinion. So I think Birdie Box started out, and this is no truer statement, as a monthly golf subscription business. So we basically would curate different packages and then deliver them to your doorstep every month. We would do a personality test in terms of characteristics and lifestyles and favorite, you know, activities and hobbies outside of just golf, which is how we started. That's why it's called Birdie Box. And you know what, we evolved from that, and then one of our monthly members said, hey, this would be great for one of my golf tournaments that I'm having at my country club. And I used to charge $50 per month for a monthly subscription membership. Mm-hmm. And this event was 144 players at $100 per gift. So that's $14,400. So when I looked at how many members would I have to keep and renew to get the same and it's every month you're recreating yourself, where in this case you could give the, you know, similar gift or the same gift to 144 people, and after the event, you're done.
You're done delivering.
Yeah. So I remember that was a very big aha moment. I said, I think we're in the wrong business. Change the branding, change the tagline. I didn't want to change the name. So instead of it having a golf flag and a birdie is a golf term, if you're playing golf and you do 1 under par, or you score 1 under par, it's a birdie. I said, let's make it a little birdie told me what the customer wants, and let's make gifting an experience. So we created the box and the bow and the current logo you see. And now, from the early beginnings in 2014 to today, we service professional sports teams, colleges and universities, Fortune 500, financial advisors, and private golf clubs and PGA Tour events. So from what started as a very narrow focus in golf has now built the spectrum into corporate gifting, products, packaging, in-house decoration, product development. We have our own brands. I know you've listed a lot of websites. So we manufacture for consumer brands. And I would have never thought in 2014 any of this would have happened. I was just looking to escape my corporate America lifestyle, sort of expand horizon. So that's a little bit of how I got here now. And I'm still, we're still grinding, we're still working. We were able to raise some money, Marie, but it's always a process. There's never an off day, as you know.
No, in entrepreneurship, it doesn't. I do have to say, like, from what you mentioned just now, is that aha moment when I think a lot of times, certain entrepreneurs might be stuck in that this is how I want to do it. This is what I'm seeing. And they may not notice that other opportunities sitting on the side, like something came on their lap. And I think you have to have that open mindset, right? Like, how do you make yourself be able to capture those things? Like, I know I've been able to, let's say, switch to the Profit Lab from being a typical, CPA trained person to a more of the business coach under the Profit Lab. You captured that moment and you said, whoa, this is not the right model. This is the model should be. So how do you think entrepreneurs should be listening to be able to see those kind of opportunities?
Good. It's a good question. So I think you always want to be true to what is important in terms of your philosophy and your vision. So my vision was always to serve customers, treat my employees with the utmost respect, and make them partners on the business. Don't have blinders on or turn a deaf ear to any person or it could come from anyone.
Yes.
So I think for me, when that helped me understand that I don't have all the answers. I'm listening to customers. I'm listening to the staff. I'm listening to a small circle, Marie, not everyone.
Not everyone, exactly.
But a small circle of trusted advisors and then experts in certain fields. And as I listened to them and started to synthesize the information, I'm like, there are a lot of things I should be doing very differently. And I'm not afraid to fail because, some people want to be perfect, right? And they work so hard on, shaping it and they lament over it for days and weeks and months, where I'm like, let's put it out there. The market's going to tell us if we're right and wrong, and we're going to learn some very valuable lessons along the way. And I'm okay with criticism and feedback. I come from a loud Italian family, and no shortage of voicing their opinion. So the girl I was dating, to how I played sports that day, to how I performed on an exam, there was no shortage of opinions. So you develop a tough skin. And to this day, I love authenticity. I love being around people that are just genuine, that also walk the walk, not just talk the talk. So I crave it like air. So that's what I think helped me sort of continue on the journey and overcome a lot of obstacles, a lot of setbacks, a lot of fear, that I was able to still, despite the fear, continue to move forward and persevere.
Yeah, absolutely. And then and you mentioned the having the right people around you and listening to the right people. And I think, when we were working together, that's exactly what I learned from you. And the vision, that's another key thing you said. It's about having the vision. One of the things that I learned from you, being just a consultant, just helping you out on the accounting side, is that you were able to explain the vision that you were seeing for Birdie Box, and you knew where you wanted to get to, and you were able to gather the right people around you and then have them think through it with you. So I that was one thing that I was just so amazed, because that was something that I learned from you. So I have to say thank you for that.
That's very kind.
No, it's true, because now that's what I do. Because when I'm looking, to add staff, that's one of the big spiel that I do. I'm talking about my vision, where I'm going. And if they don't see themselves in it, then they're not the right people. I don't want to waste their time or my time.
I see that 10X sign behind you. Imagine someone didn't believe in Grant, right? And you're like, well, this is someone that's a hero of mine, someone I believe in. I've taken courses, I've studied, and it's one thing to disagree with Marie Torossian. It's another thing if philosophically you don't feel like you share that vision. And it's also got to be a mindset that there are seasons to everything, right? So what I mean by that is people have seasons, family members, friends, sometimes. And, as you grow and evolve, Marie, from where you were in Lebanon, right, to coming to the States, to getting married, to being an accountant, to your career path as an entrepreneur, you want to be around people maybe in certain seasons or stages they were right for Marie. But as you evolve, the season changes. Absolutely. And I used to be so steadfast on I have to be loyal. And it's one thing to be loyal, but be blind. And now my loyalty is earned. and it's given, and it's got to be reciprocal. And certain times you have to have what we call kind candor. Like even you and I came to that place where your dream was not Birdie Box. It was to be an entrepreneur and do what you're doing with Profit Lab. So I can't be upset that your dream isn't my dream. And that season was beautiful. And now 2 or 3 years later, we're talking today. So I look at everything as a purpose. And can you learn? And are you listening and you're being empathetic? And then you apply those learnings. That's my entire way of how I think about life, not just business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Pat. And the other thing you mentioned, and I wanted to pinpoint that for other entrepreneurs as well. And I saw it from you the first time, and then I hear it from Grant all the time now, right? Like you just said it now. You said when you have an idea, you put it out to the market and let the market decide. And I know from being an accountant, my thing was like, well, it has to be this way or that. We're just very specific because we are set in so much rules. So one of the things that I saw from you is that, yes, this is an idea, just put it out there. And you just mentioned it. And, I want to make sure that entrepreneurs that are listening and watching, that they take away this key point. Because if you have an idea, just test it out in the market, just put it out there. And if it's not going to work, it's not going to work.
I watched an interview with Jeff Bezos, okay?
Uh-huh.
And he's like, everyone will tout about Amazon Web Services and all the great things he's done. But they won't talk about all the failures, right? And he said, at the end of the day, if you're not trying to serve and obsess over the customer and create all of these different value pieces, it's going to be really hard to be successful. And Elon Musk, and someone else I watched, said, if you're entering a new market, you can't be mildly better or just, it has to be such a wide margin in terms of your service or your product or whatever it is you're providing, that to get people to change and shift their mindset is very, very difficult.
Yes.
So, he said, Bezos said, I don't bet the company bets, but I take mitigated, calculated investments, and I recognize the majority of them will fail. Mm-hmm. Look at the people that are really successful that I admire. They all have a similar mindset. They're not completely risk averse. They don't throw caution into the wind, but they make calculated bets, like you mentioned for Grant. The market will tell us if we're right, we're wrong, and we'll learn some valuable lessons. To listen, to overcome the fear, all the feedback, all the negativity. It's going to be a bumpy road. You brace yourself, and you're going to persevere through the storm. And that's one thing. If you said, what am I proud of? Obviously creating a great team and my family. On my own personal journey, it's regardless of the obstacle. I almost died I had a heart surgery, right? I should have went bankrupt, Marie, 15 different ways till Sunday. We had logistics problems, sales problems, COVID. You could, and that's one thing. And I hate to use the word cockroach and me in the same sentence, but almost like a cockroach. And in nuclear war, the cockroach and Pat DePirro will likely survive. That's one thing I'm very proud of, is that I'm going to get hit a million ways and you're going to try to kill me, but I'm very, very difficult to kill because I won't let up, and I never say no, and I won't quit. I will never, it's not in my vocabulary to quit. And you have to, again, be smart and open-minded, not blind, Faith. But I always get little hints along the way, Marie. This product or this packaging, I saw that there was an opportunity or a market there. And I wanted to, through curiosity, explore that. And once you start to get unbiased, feedback and data that support the thesis, you go, okay, maybe I'm onto something here. But most people run the marathon. It's 26 whatever plus miles. They quit mile 5, 10, 18, or 22. They might be only a few miles away from the finish, but because they're dehydrated and cramping and there's a million reasons why you stop to finish the marathon. And then you got people who run Ironman, right? So there's always your threshold of pain.
Yes.
Right? Physically, emotionally, mentally, financially. That is, to me, what separates the good from the great entrepreneurs.
Yes.
We romanticize the overnight sensations, but a lot went into that as well. Facebook and Netflix. these are brilliant people that have started these companies. And yes, those things happen where your Instagram and a few years later you sell, but 99% of us, Marie, are they're the Profit Lab and their Birdie Box. And you got to just be okay in that moment and be comfortable where you're at, know your truth, surround yourself, and persevere.
Yeah. Those are very great words. Yeah, and great words for those who are listening to kind of take to heart and take note, guys. Take note. This is great information. Great information. I wanted to kind of talk about, and I know you love, you really pay attention to packaging and product development and all that. So how do you, if someone is trying to come up with a great product, and what are your recommendations, or like, how did you come up with your new products? Let's say the Hudson Cold and Charlotte Lou and all that, and then of course the whole packaging, because I know the Birdie Box packaging is a masterpiece. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I think, I started seeing what people were interested in, what they were purchasing. So if it was travel gear, you look at Toomey, Briggs & Riley, Away Luggage, Herschel Supply Company. I'm like, well, what is so compelling? I get the brand, but is it the construction of the material? Is it how it makes them feel? Is it trendy? Is it versatile? And why? And then I'd read reviews and I'd ask customers, because if I look at a Yeti tumbler versus another tumbler, on the surface, it's a double insulated piece of drinkware, right? And then the Corksicle and Tempercraft and Hydro Flask and Ember. So once I understand why they make buying decisions, I would always ask, like, well, what do you like least about it? Or what would you, if you could make one change, what would that change be?
Wow.
Or I'd read the negative feedback. I'd go to the 5-star reviews, then the 1-star reviews, Marie, and I'd say, what are people unhappy about? Like, genuinely, not, okay, they maybe had an outlier that it shipped late.
Right.
But true. And they'd say, well, I wish it had a compartment for my drinkware, or I wish it was waterproof, or the handle breaks easily and it doesn't allow me, if I'm stacking the cooler and I want to have a picnic basket or a birthday cake, I can't, there's no straps to hold it. I'd say, well, why wouldn't we just add straps? And if it was technology, I look at Apple, Sonos, Bang & Olufsen, JBL, and it's great brands. Well, where's that middle ground? Where's that attainable luxury? I don't want something cheap that's quote unquote a knockoff, but I can't afford, I don't have the budget for Apple or Bose or Master Dynamic. And I'd say, where's the sweet spot? Yeah. And then I look at all the different products and say, well, I like this about product A, this about product B. And then I combine them, share it with the staff, share it with some part of our audience, say, what would you do differently before I mass produce this product? Tell me what you think. And you get the best feedback from the right people. I don't know. I'm not an expert in consumer electronics or men's bags and totes and travel gear, or, home style and glass and decanter sets and Moscow Mule. All I could do is ask people who drink Moscow Mules or drink Scotch, and you'll learn from and I always have both men and women, because it's very different mindset. And I think in corporate gifts, it's very masculine dominated, which as a mama's boy who is very close to his mom and his sister, I always wanted to get the female point of view, design, style, functionality, weight, because you have to think for both audiences. And that's how I come up with products. And then I look at the sales team and say, is this something that you've been getting inquiries about? Do you think this is a market here? And they would filter it with some of their best clients, and then we get the feedback. So right now we're working on a design patent for a cooler bag. So it's a backpack with a cooler bag, and I won't bore you with the details, but it's been 8 months in the making. And then we did prototype 1, prototype 2, prototype 3, and now we're finally getting to that last, final proof, and then we'll mass produce. So it's the product development is a journey, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong, function, battery life, legality. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into this. So I'm learning every day too, Marie.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's really great information, Pat, because it does take a lot of production time, and I love the fact that you are asking your own clients, like, what is it that you like? So it's a lot of surveying and getting feedback from your clients to make sure that you're getting them what they want. So, and then that's how you're redesigning the products that are not that perfect fit. Now they're the perfect fit.
Yeah, Marie, like I worked at Bloomberg, that's very data centric. So I'd walk in a conference room and I'd say, I need or I believe X, Y, or Z. And what I learned very quickly why Bloomberg is a multi-billion-dollar company is that they don't make decisions on hunches or intuition, opinion. It's all rooted in data, concrete substance data. So anytime I would want anything or any ask, investment, staff, I came with my data. So whenever we go into the market, whether it's the packaging side or the decoration in terms of how we add a person's name or initials or a logo or some imagery, it's rooted in data, hard feedback that's, unbiased, that I can trust the data. And with the data, I can make smarter decisions. So we live and breathe by that, which is why digital, marketing and social media is so important, because you get to, in real time, gauge what's resonating, what's not resonating. And then you can tweak things on the fly, including this podcast, right? You'll learn every podcast what they like. Yeah, every you learn, right? And that's what I love about it.
I mean, between the first podcast I did with the other one, I have a coffee time with Reuters and CPA, and this one, I mean, it's like almost a year now, and it's a very different way that I approach the podcast now versus the first time. Obviously, we are always learning, that's for sure. We never.
And you have to enjoy that too. You have to enjoy the education and learning. That's why I think people love travel, right? You get to experience other cities, other cultures, right? And it's exciting to know there's not just your way of thinking or your way of living. And I learn a lot from all my travels, all across here or overseas. And that's another thing. You got to just be sensitive to those things, the cultural values, what they're excited about, their priority. We're all very, very different. And that's why I'm not a big fan of politics, because it's very divisive. I'm not a big fan, even economic status, right? It's like rich, middle class, poor. It's like, this isn't a kumbaya moment for me, Marie, but like, if you understand and can empathize, right, you can't be prejudiced of someone who comes from wealth, and you can't be angry that you come from poverty, or like you and I, lower middle class. Like, you got to embrace who you are, understand where they come from, and try to find common ground.
Absolutely.
And that's what we do as you are trying to hire staff. You don't want, God forbid, there's 100 Pat DePirro's, the world would explode in a bad way. So I want different people from different backgrounds and different experience. But just be thoughtful, respectful, and empathetic. That's all I ask. Yeah,
absolutely. That's great. And I know you have a very specific way of the way you hire. One of the things I wanted to also discuss, and I think it would be helpful to entrepreneurs, and I know that for me, it took me a long time until I started learning from Grant how to create like a sales process. You guys had a very cool sales process. I don't know if you want to kind of mention a little bit about how you came about that or how you implemented that.
Sure.
That's very important, because most people don't realize how important that is. I didn't realize it until I started my entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, I mean, what you want to do is spend your time with the right customers or prospects. So what I've learned after years of failure in my business, people want to touch it and feel it. They want to have that wow moment, that unboxing, that experience.
Yes.
So it became incredibly important that custom, highly personalized sample gifts prelude the actual meeting. Because once you experienced it, Marie, you touched it, you felt it, you saw your initials, your name, a picture of your children, your college alma mater, whatever that was, you got it. We're creating those magic moments. I could put it in a PowerPoint, I could go to a show, but that became very important. And then the needs analysis, where we qualify the right type of person for Birdie Box.
Right.
We have very systemic questions that are layered, like an onion, you're kind of peeling them to understand, is this the right potential prospect or client for Birdie Box, and vice versa. Maybe we don't meet their needs. So we're very deliberate. We're very intentional. So samples are a big part of what we do. To get them in the sales funnel, you start wide, narrow them. We bring people on site. We fly them in, pay for their airfare, pick them up at the airport, create a custom shopping experience when they walk in the showroom, all very intentional.
Yes.
Narrow niche trade shows, very specific trade shows, but rather than just have a booth and give away a tchotchke, we book appointments, we have time slots, we create shopping moments, we ask we're very, very prepared on that end before that person. And if there's a, what we call a tire kicker, or someone who's just walking by, there's another area of that booth that they go to. So the side is the left, the tire kicker's to the right. And the way we position the products and the different curated gift sets, we put the ones that we know will likely resonate brand-centric or theme-centric first, because that's your eyes, you read left, you read left to right, same way you go in a trade show booth. So watching the behavior of that is very, very important. On the e-com side, where's the abandon rate? Where are they originating? What terms are resonating best? Looking at your Google Analytics, understanding the site behavior, the user behavior, and constantly evolving and tweaking your email strategy, your marketing strategy. So our sales is samples, very personalized custom samples. E-com, obviously, from a lead gen, and we have a site launch coming out this week that's very product driven. And then these very hyper targeted trade shows that we do. And then the last piece of advice, but you have to have the right partners. I go by vertical. So if I look at financial services or real estate or golf, I can't be all things. I have to think of it through their eyes. Right. So rather than me come up with my own strategy, who are the most trusted, influential people in each vertical? So if I'm in the golf area, I look at the PGA of America. The PGA of America is where the golf professional, the head golf professional, they have to go through schooling and get these credentials. And then geographically, there's 41 sections of the PGA of America, which is very different than the PGA Tour. So we have 20 plus partnerships with each section. Those people will lead me to the right customers. They understand that needs analysis. So now it's free labor. They become a sales arm for a Birdie Box. They vet them. So by the time it gets to our sales team, Marie, we know that they're a qualified client. So support that section in whatever their endeavors are, but they have to earn it. I just don't write blind checks. Like, this isn't a sponsorship. I just write 5 and 6 figure checks and run advertising. It has to be a collaborative effort, and the right partners want to help Marie Torossian. They don't just go, Marie, I'll help you with this caveat. So when I brought you on, you did a lot of work for me before I gave you $1. And that's what impressed me, that you were willing to put that time and that energy and use your expertise just to show me how you thought and how you cared. And it made it easier. Then I wouldn't take advantage of that as a partner. I would reciprocate that. So I would tell any entrepreneur, find partners it's not always about a dollar for dollar, but they're really invested in your mission, in you as a person, in your cause, and they want to help. And I think that's as important in the sales process as anything.
Absolutely. Yes, of course. I totally get that. So your top clients, for example, in specific sector, they're becoming like your ambassadors, right? They're becoming your biggest fans, which is something, of course, Grant talks about too. So that's kind of like, that's what you build, and that makes it an extended arm. Absolutely. Another question that I wanted to bring up, and I think this is important because, when entrepreneurs, when we first start out, like, we're in every area of the business, and in high level we should be, but what happens is that they try to do it all themselves. So as a CEO for so many years, you've already grown the company for so much. How do you manage, or how do you use your time wisely, let's say, in the best way, right? So, and how could you advise other entrepreneurs about that?
Yeah, it's hard because you have limited resources and funds to hire great people. We'd all love to hire this all-star staff. I think you got to think about, what the business needs today, in a year, and 3 years. And the people that you bring on board, do you think that they have a propensity, and have illustrated ability to grow and evolve and adapt? Doesn't necessarily have to be with a company in their life, right? When you told me your stories as a child, right, and moving here with nothing, and all the turmoil that happened, right? Like, these things, maybe most people wouldn't look at them, but I'm like, okay, can pivot, change of environment, change of culture, she could start over, like those things. So I would say, when you hire, you want to make sure they don't need to be identical to you, but they could adapt and evolve, and they share your vision. And then also prioritize the needs of the business. So, I just recently have dedicated social media marketers, because in the beginning I needed direct sales, operation, warehouse logistics.
Right.
We
Right.
prioritized in a lifeline and put a roadmap together of what that business needed at that time. And
Right.
know what, when I hire anyone, Marie, they have very strict KPIs, key performance indicators.
Yes.
Every week, I don't care about the output, I care about the input. So the mindset has to be when I hire people, I go, here are the measurable deliverables, here are your KPIs. We're going to have an honest, unbiased, kind, candor dialogue. And those are the people you want that could sort of wear many hats, but they also have that area of expertise. So they could see the vision of the company, but they maybe be great in accounting or finance, operations, sales.
Right.
And when you're young, you got to have people that are nimble that could do multiple things. And if they don't know something, which we are all blind and ignorant in certain factors, they might have a network of people that you don't have to compensate to that they can tap into that network. And that's valuable. So you're buying the person's ability to adapt, change, evolve with you, obviously work ethic and overcome adversity, but as well as their network of people that they can, tap into, because that is free advice, as they'd say.
Sounds good. I'm going to just, for a moment, I'm going to read out, because I did not get to do that, just because those who are listening on the podcast, they're not going to see that I put up some of your websites here. So I'm going to read it out loud. So for those of you listening, the websites for Birdie Box are basically birdiebox.com. You can also check bb-tech with a TEK.com, hudson-cole.com, charlottelou.com, old-times.com. So make sure to check out the websites and get to know a little bit more about some of the products that Birdie Box has and the gifting experience that they deliver. Excellent.
There's a perfect example, Marie. I would love all those websites not to have a hyphen, but someone who wants to charge you a lot of money to own that URL. Right.
Yes.
So rather than say, well, I got to change the name, today it has a hyphen. A year or two from now, I'm sure it'll just be BB Tech, Hudson Cole, Charlotte Lou, and old.com. But you got to just
absolutely. You just go with it.
You go.
I will give you a perfect example for the Profit Lab. That's exactly what happened. The profitlab.com was impossible to get. It was going to be very expensive. Somebody else has purchased it. And so I just went with profitlab.biz. Yeah. I'm not stopping my work.
Yeah.
So we got to go with what we have right now. So awesome. This was great. And I know you talked a little bit about hiring, and then right now, and I know something we've talked about, and I know you are one of those, executives that when I was working with you as a consultant, you very much understood some of the financial aspects of the business, which was very shocking to me. Most of the time they won't know. So we had a lot of great conversations on that. So can you please, maybe kind of from your experience, share and advise how entrepreneurs that are starting their business, how they should view the financial information in their business?
Sure. So there are two things I learned very quickly: your balance sheet, right, and your P&L, right, your cash flow. So I would just say for any entrepreneur, make sure you understand how to read a balance sheet and how you could put a P&L cash flow statement together, because that'll be a good indicator of how people value, where you focus your business, where you may need to adjust and address things. And you have to have sound systems in place and processes so that you're getting the right information so that you as the CEO or entrepreneur can make educated decisions. So those are the things I learned from a gentleman early on. Was I never read a balance sheet or a P&L statement, cash flow statement before Birdie Box. So truth be told.
Right. Otherwise, you wouldn't know what's going on in your business at all. So that's great. I always love working with CEOs that actually know how to read the financials and just ask questions. And what does this mean? What does that mean? Or, how can we make this better? And it definitely, the CEO may not be the person fixing all of that, but then it's about understanding the numbers and then starting the discussion with the rest of the team to help fix the problems,
Marie, perfect example. I'll give you two, because I know we're short on time because I talk too much. Time value of money. The time value of money. If you get paid up front, right, and you don't have to deliver the goods for 3 months, 6 months, what's that time value of that money? right? There's a value to that. And that's so payment terms and chasing receivables, right? That's very. And the other story I'll tell you, because that changed and shifted the way we operated. I'd rather make less margin, but I'd like to get the money up front, or at least a deposit, so they're committed to the agreement, and I have those dollars to invest. And the second thing, when I started analyzing our P&L, I said, well, why is our shipping costs? I thought they should be about 3 to 5%, give or take, of our total revenue, and it's more like 10 to 12%. Did gas prices or shipping prices or freight costs, did they really? And there was some of that, but when I started to unpack that a bit, I noticed there's something called the actual weight and dimensional weight. So if you ship an item, let's say you shipped a small coffee mug or a yo-yo, you shipped it in a box that could hold 6 yo-yos. You're pretty much paying for 6 yo-yos or 6 cups that relates to the freight or some delineation of that.
Right.
So if I had known that, I would have obviously found different shipping boxes that could fit smaller items, or I would want a weekly or monthly report on what the average weight, distributed weight from actual weight is, so that I can minimize the delta and thus reduce it. So not only did we reduce our shipping costs by 20% by doing that, I then went from FedEx to UPS, and I won't say which way because I know they're both legitimate and big, large enterprise companies, but I said, why am I paying for residential charges if I ship it to Marie's house versus Marie's office? We're like, well, to get to Marie's house, they may be inroads. It's in a neighborhood where businesses are typically on major arteries. I'm like, Then there was something called a fuel surcharge. I said, you don't need fuel to run your trucks. You don't bake that into the overall cost. And Marie, when I started asking questions, they removed the fuel surcharge, the residential, the delta. So I made a huge, not I meaning me, but I as the business, huge amount of savings by really diving into that P&L and going through the major line items, right? Staffing, T&E, operating costs, materials, maintenance on machines. I would now negotiate different terms for maintenance contracts. You really get into the numbers, and it's like anything else. Like these little things add up, and you unfortunately have to have a controller or a CFO or a senior director of finance that, hey, Pat, like you got to be paying attention to this. And then you build systems in place to sort of understand how to correct those, or how to address those challenges or issues or cost expenditures. So, and I learned I made a lot of mistakes in my 9.5 years doing Birdie Box, but I would tell you, having a great operator is as important as a salesperson, as a marketer, as a visionary. You need great controls, great systems. You need a great operation. And still to this day, we refine that: inventory management, software, CRM. And we're not great, but we have a woman now that runs it that does a very good job, and she needs more investment and more resources. And you can't neglect that, because the sexy part is in front of the customer. It's the shiny, but the ends of the business. You look at a guy like Warren Buffett, who agonizes over looking at financials and annual reports. There's a reason, right? Because he's looking for the nuggets within the business, good and bad, undervalued nuggets, or hey, the shelf life. And then you look at companies like WeWorks and Uber that have had moments, good and bad. That's what I'm trying to avoid, the same pitfalls that smarter, more accomplished people have made. And I know I'm going to make them. I'm just a little bit more aware, and I don't just bury my head in the sand saying they're going to go away, or it's not sexy, so I don't spend time. I got to spend time on both sides, the front and the back.
This was amazing. You have shared so much golden nuggets from your experiences and about Birdie Box. So I'm very excited that you joined me on the podcast here. So we always kind of wrap up the podcast, and I know you've given so much information, but from your personal challenges, what are 3 things that you would want entrepreneurs to focus on right now? Like the first 3 things that come to mind. You can just, and they may be a repeat, but it could be like just 3 things that they should focus on right now from your own challenges.
Your time, choose your time with the right people, both staff and customers. I think that's, also you have to understand that there'll be failures, there'll be highs and lows. Enjoy the highs, ride out the lows, persevere, and never, don't let your ego or your own opinion dictate your actions. So if you could put your ego at the door and check your ego and emotions and surround yourself with the right people, overcome adversity and pitfalls, kind of stay steady, I think you'll do okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pat, for being here. Congratulations again for having, being the leader of Birdie Box for so many years, and may you continue on growing and then serving more and more clients. It's an excellent service, guys, and you do serve most, is there a specific range of customers that you are focusing on, or do you serve any smaller businesses as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you want the right people, like I just mentioned. I would say typically corporate America, meaning businesses that are trying to find new clients, thank existing clients, get referrals, or give value to their staff. So if there are people in the universe which are a lot, obviously successful people start with great people and great culture. Yes. So I would say that, and obviously sales cures a lot of problems. So if you're looking to keep clients, retain clients, identify new prospects, those are typically the people that like our service, because they can then associate the Birdie Box investment with revenue. So I don't want to be a cost expenditure or a marketing expense. I want to be something that helps drive the bottom line, or top line or bottom line. So that would be who we focus on. And whether that lives in golf, sports, small to medium-sized businesses, or Fortune 500, all of us need to attract the right people, retain them, and grow our businesses. So that's who we focus on.
Thank you, Pat. Thanks again. And we are so excited to have you here. And with that, guys, thank you so much to all our listeners and our viewers. Thank you for joining today. Please remember to subscribe, follow, like, and share the content that you are watching or listening with other entrepreneurs, so they can also get this information. Let's empower each other through our experiences. Until the next episode, have a wonderful and a blessed week.